more worthwhile. What I've seen, and particularly in this class, is that students replicate what's on the board. The active board allows for multiple colors to be used for highlighting and underlining, and I find that many students, if the first sentence is highlighted in green and the second sentence is highlighted in pink on the board, they will fumble around trying to find a green highlighter and a pink highlighter to highlight it right, and they will freak out if they can't. I think part of that is the fact that they're sixth graders. Note-taking skills really aren't there yet, but it's kind of disappointing to see as well. When students are asked what they think, they're very dualistic. There's right, there's wrong, there's black, there's white. There's not gray, there's not any in between. And I don't think that this lesson challenges them to think, nor do I think it's supposed to. I think it's designed to convey material, and that's about it. Now, I've seen that this isn't an activity I think students really enjoy. The drawings that they do are messy. They always ask if they have to color them and get upset if they have to put any more than minimal effort in. And I really don't blame them too much, because if I were in the class, I'm not sure I'd want to put more than minimal effort in either, especially if I already got the material. Now, for the class I'm talking about, they definitely didn't get the material. They struggle with attitude and effort to the nth degree. The worksheet review does a lot of different things, and I think this one can be more successful. Some students who struggle with reading or just don't care will circle random answers and try to have a conversation with their peers, or put their heads down, or just ignore the class completely. Some of them have the attitude that it's a race and that correct answers don't necessarily matter. Unfortunately, in real life, as in this class, the real answers do matter. For most students, though, outside of this class, in all of the other classes where the students struggle less with reading, this type of teaching works very well at conveying information. The first class that I talked about, where many of the students struggled to pay attention and put much effort into this assignment, grades reflected that and were in the B, C, D range. In the other classes, the overwhelming majority of the grades on that unit test, as well as the daily review, were in the A to high B range. So I definitely think that this lesson works for some students. To a certain extent, it does encourage just thinking about recall. And if questions are reworded, or if they're asked to take it to a higher level, they do struggle. But they're very, very young, very early in school, and it's not something that they've learned how to do yet. So I wouldn't expect them to develop the skill overnight, but it is something that's important to talk about to develop over the years. This class seemed frustrating, even as an observer. The cooperating teacher, as well as the aide, got frustrated from time to time at the students' lack of effort as well as attitude. I think that's something that's going to happen, but I think that it's best if you can avoid your students seeing that side of you and breathing the sigh of relief after class instead of with 5 minutes left, because students really pick up on that a lot. In other classes, and most of the times when I've taught lessons of this type, they've actually gone really well, and I think students have understood the material and gotten the material, but this lesson in and of itself depends more on sharing stories and making the content come alive with those stories, and getting the students involved in the definitions and having them write the definitions. The very basics of this activity don't really encourage a lot of knowledge or higher level thinking. Now, the last part is what I sort of paraphrase is this what Hicks wants us to do? And I can say with absolute certainty that's a no. This isn't really an authentic activity. It doesn't feel meaningful to me as a teacher. and it doesn't really promote that higher level thinking that we want students to get. If they've been struggling in class and find it uninteresting, something like this probably isn't going to help that much. So I don't think that this is what we necessarily want to happen in our classrooms, but I do know from time to time we all have bad days, and this was one of the worst that I've seen of one class period of any day that I've been at school this semester. It's generally one of the more difficult classes, a little more frustrating, simply because there are students who are challenged in there, and we as teachers are sometimes the most challenged at teaching those students, but in many cases I think they're the ones that it's most important to reach. If I were adopting this lesson for my classroom, the way that I'd modify it would honestly be by starting over and trying something different. With this class, I don't think that this lesson worked on this day. I think that exploration's an interesting topic. If you bring in a lot of visuals, multimedia, and other types of presentation materials to maybe introduce it in a different way. I think that the worksheet as an assessment worked pretty well, but the highlighting and the visuals, it's not something I'm really sure that I would want to depend on too much.